A natural gas well in California that spewed more than 100,000 tons of the harmful greenhouse gas methane into the atmosphere was the largest methane leak in U.S. history, researchers said Thursday. The study in the journal Science is the first to be published regarding the impact of the Aliso Canyon natural gas well blowout, which lasted 112 days before it was finally plugged on February 11. The methane releases were extraordinarily high, the highest we've seen, said Donald Blake, an atmospheric chemist at the University of California, Irvine, and co-author of the study. Lead scientist Stephen Conley of the University of California, Davis, said that when he first began measuring the outpouring of methane in early November, the readings were so high that thought his equipment was malfunctioning. It became obvious that there wasn't anything wrong with the instruments, Conley said. This was just a huge event. At its worst, the blowout doubled the rate of methane emissions from the entire Los Angeles basin and temporarily created the largest known human-caused point source of methane in the U.S., said the study. From the time it was first detected on October 23 until it was largely plugged earlier this month, the leak discharged a total of 97,100 tons, or 5 billion cubic feet, 142 million cubic meters, of methane to the atmosphere, according to the study, published in the journal Science. The leak had been gushing non-stop for 2 weeks when Conley was sent in November by the California Energy Commission to fly his small plane outfitted to measure methane near Porter Ranch. As he took a pass through the invisible plume, he did a double take at results on a laptop tracking emissions. He was used to flying about a half-mile from a leak and finding methane measurements of 3 parts per million in a big leak and 4 parts per million in a huge one. He was a mile from the leak and the readings were 50 parts per million over the San Fernando Valley. What the hell is that, he remembered thinking. Do I have a problem? He checked a second instrument and it was no false alarm. Before we went, no one had any idea the magnitude of it, Conley said. Rob Jackson, an environmental scientist at Stanford University who did not contribute to the study, said it was important to have an independent measure of the emissions. The gas company has not publicly reported how much gas it lost, but said in a Securities and Exchange Commission filing that about 5 billion cubic feet escaped. That is similar to Conley's measurements. The figure is important because the state is drawing up a plan for SoCalGas to mitigate the impact of the methane emissions. Our finding means that the Aliso Canyon leak was the largest accidental release of methane in the history of the U.S., Tom Ryerson, a scientist for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and co-lead of the study, said in a NOAA statement about the research. The chief component of natural gas and a far more potent greenhouse agent than carbon dioxide, methane persists in the atmosphere for 10 years. The total release from Aliso Canyon is equivalent to the annual energy sector methane emissions of a medium-sized European Union country, the study said. The next largest source of methane in the United States is an Alabama coal mine, researchers said. Surface air samples collected near homes in the adjacent Porter Ranch residential area showed above normal levels of several potentially dangerous compounds present in natural gas, including benzene, toluene, and xylenes, said the study. Long-term exposure to some of these volatile organic compounds has been linked to health damages, but it remains unclear what effect the blowout has had on the health of nearby residents, more than 11,000 of whom were evacuated. The study found that impact of the leak would be equal to the greenhouse gas emissions from over 500,000 cars. It will also substantially affect California's ability to meet greenhouse gas emission targets for the year. The research team included scientists who used airborne chemical sampling to measure the 2010 Deepwater Horizon spill off the coast of Louisiana. The Aliso Canyon facility, owned by Southern California Gas Co., a division of San Diego-based Sempra Energy, is the fourth largest gas storage field of its kind in the United States. The volume of methane that escaped represents just 3% of its total storage capacity, the study said.